All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I just wanted to start with an overview of what today's event is going to look like. So today we're going to start with a little bit of information about internships and the internship course, because I'm guessing some students here will be interested, especially after hearing from students currently doing internships. Then we'll listen to the student presentations. We'll then have a question and answer period, and we're going to use the chat because there's lots of people here. So we're going to use the chat to ask a question. Just make sure you send that question to everyone so that everyone can see it, and then I will read the question aloud and that can be answered. And then everyone will also get a link because the students also created these one-page handouts about their site. So they will be able to share information that way as well. A little bit, I'm going to go back, sorry about that. So everyone can receive this handout, and it's also, again, this will be recorded. So a little bit about internships. The students spend 8 to 10 hours at their site each week. So they're typically there 1 to 2 days a week. They also receive supervision on site. So someone is there to supervise them and oversee the time that they're at their site. Oops. Sorry about that. And then, you also are having hands-on experience in a professional environment. So you're really taking everything that you've been learning in your courses and you're putting it into practice in the field, which is the most exciting part. Another really great piece is that you're getting the ability to interact with professionals in the field, make some really great connections. And some of our students have been offered jobs at these sites that they have interned at, which is very, very cool. The internship course itself takes place once a week, and it's really about providing group supervision and providing support to your peers and talking with your peers about your experiences. And we also explore topics related to the internship experience. So we talk a lot, for example, about what the supervisory relationship is like and how to create a good supervisory relationship and utilize that. A lot about ethical reasoning, cultural awareness. How do you interact with people that are different from you, and how aware are you of those differences? And a lot about self-awareness. We spend a lot of time thinking about how much do we understand and know about ourselves, and how do we advocate well for ourselves, because it's very challenging sometimes as an undergraduate student to advocate for yourselves at these agencies. And another piece we talk about a lot is self-care, because that is really, really important, not only as a professional, but as a student who's doing and having these experiences. So I really like to share the fact that just because you're a senior, if there are any seniors here, it is not too late to have an opportunity to engage in some really meaningful and relevant experiences, especially if you're going out and getting a job in the field. So you can think about some things to pursue over the summer now that we're nearing the end of the semester. Is any volunteer opportunities that are close to home, things that you can do that might be related to a field that you're interested in psychology. also summer jobs that are related, and also paid or unpaid internships. So a lot of people talk about getting an internship over the summer, but you can also get a job that's related to the field of psychology that you're most interested in as well. So the whole idea is just expanding this idea of what is a relevant experience? What's an experience that then you can translate onto your resume to show an employer that you have some really, really relevant and transferable skills that you can apply to a job within the field of psychology. It's also really great if you're thinking of going on to graduate school, because graduate schools will want to know that you've had experience in the field. So a little bit of what can you do to prepare for an internship? And I'll also be asking for the students that are presenting to speak about this too. The first thing you can do is just think about what your interests are. Is there a particular career path in psychology that you're most interested in? Think about research versus practice. So which side of it really makes you feel excited? And if you're not sure, I would recommend trying both things. Are there certain settings that you want to explore, populations that you're interested in? And overall, there's no bad internship experience, because every experience is going to give you information about really what you like and what you don't like. And sometimes finding out what you don't like is just as important. And one thing I can say is just schedule a meeting with me and we can talk it through and talk about what your options are. Another really important piece is just beginning to create or edit your resume and practice writing a cover letter. Because if those materials are done and ready, you'll be able to apply to all these experiences really quickly. Another really great thing to do is speak to professionals that you know in the field. You can talk to any of the professors in the psychology department, but you can also meet with people that are in the field, that are doing jobs that you might be interested in. And part of the way you can do that is by going to networking events on campus or career fairs. It's a really, really great way to connect to people kind of outside of your world at Merrimack. So as far as the timeline, during advising period is really when I suggest you start talking to your advisor about how you can integrate an internship experience into your course schedule. And then I have an internship interest form that you can fill out so that I have an idea of what you're looking for. And then we can start to discuss what types of options you have. If you are registering for the internship class, you would then meet with me, talk about what types of internships are out there and start scheduling interviews. And then ideally, before you even leave for break, you'll have an internship all set up. Prior to the start of the new semester, we identify a start date. The semester begins and you start right at your site and you get those experiences and you start with the coursework and you create some goals for your experience at your internship. Mid-semester, your supervisor fills out an evaluation and you might be updating goals because you're understanding different things that are happening on site. And we just check in about how you're doing and how that experience is going. And then at the end of the semester, you get an evaluation from your supervisor again, and we have a conversation about how that experience was. And you also have an opportunity to fill out an evaluation about the site so that you can sort of give insight to students coming after you about what that experience is like. Okay, so this is the most important part. Today, we are going to hear about 6 different internship experiences from the students doing an internship this semester. So some of them share the same site, so they'll be presenting together, and this is the order that we will go in. So first we will hear from Hands to Help, the Justice Resource Center, Shed Children's Campus, Children's Neuropsychological Services, and Lazarus House, and then finally Windrush Farm. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm passing it off to our first presenters who should have the ability to share their screen.
Okay, so Christina and I both work at Hands to Help, and Hands to Help is located at 60 Island Street in Lawrence. It's in the old Bell Tower building in North Lawrence, if any of you know where that is. But they also have an office on campus in the SAC Center because they are affiliated with both Merrimack and as a community.
So just a little overview about Hands to Help. Hands to Help is sorry about that. I'm trying to move the little box of people on the Zoom and it clicks from the presentation, so I apologize. So just a little overview. Hands to Help is a collaboration that started in 2015 between Merrimack College and St. Mary of Assumption Parish in Lawrence. Hands to Help is a community resource center for the city of Lawrence and the greater area. We also help Lowell, I believe. And the goal is uplifting and assisting members of the community. The mission is to enlighten minds, engage hearts, and empower the lives of members of the Lawrence community.
So Hands to Help offers a lot of services. Lots of you guys on campus are probably aware of Mac Gives Back. They also do the tutoring after school program, which is what Christina and I are a part of. They have college application assistance, ESL classes, which are happening right now, tax assistance, which is also happening right now, job prep, resume building. In the summer, they have a day camp, and they also do general form assistance for people where English might not be their first language or they're not familiar with what they're doing. And then they're also a referral site for all other nonprofits and helpful assistant programs. Right now, they're doing an educational video for the city of Lawrence with one of the priests in the area to educate people on COVID and the importance of getting your vaccination.
So this is the staff at Hands to Help. Rosanna is our director, and she's also the director of Mac Gives Back. So if you've done Mac Gives Back, you've met her before. Lisbeth is the assistant director. She's our supervisor at the virtual tutoring program, virtual for this semester. And Morgan is the current graduate fellow. She is sadly leaving us in May, and we'll have a new one in the fall. Her job, she's on many different committees as well, the COVID education committee. So there's different parts of Hands to Help all in this big general agency.
And for Christina and I's role as intern, we host the after school sessions, which are currently virtual, but in the fall, hopefully will be in person again. And the tutors come from Merrimack College O'Brien Center, and the students are from all different schools within the Lawrence area, 3rd grade through 8th grade. During the sessions, we lead activities prior to kind of integrate the kids more into the program and allow the tutors and the children to build better relationships. We use that time to decide who should be working with who for the day when we assign breakout rooms. And throughout the session, we go in and out of breakout rooms, making sure that people's cameras are on, people are communicating with each other, that their questions are being answered. And we're just there in case anything happens or we need to help them. And after the session ends, we fill out an evaluation form. We keep attendance. We write down requests, problems, and then any general notes. We also attend weekly meetings twice a week with the Hands to Help team, which is really, it's actually really fun to go to those meetings and just talk with your team members. I really enjoy them.
I'm just going to add that the other staff members at Hands to Help will always want our input on other things, kind of understanding the students. They'll want to know about that too, asking us questions about life on campus to help better, Mac Gives Back and stuff like that, but also asking our opinion. It makes me feel more professional. I never felt like, oh, an intern, I'm at the bottom. They always ask for our opinion on things, whether it's Mac is Back or the tax program, what we see in our viewpoint of things. So that was very nice. So why Hands to Help? Hands to Help works directly with the community. So every age is being helped at Hands to Help. We have food through Mac Gives Back. We are helping people with their taxes, but also helping the children of the community. It engages within and without the Merrimack College community. Merrimack College kids are helping the community of Lawrence. It doesn't just help the students in the community of Lawrence, but it also helps the Merrimack students. I personally, this has helped me very much, and I've gained such a great experience. They have a multitude of diverse services, such as Mac Gives Back, as I've said, in the tax assistant program. Overall, I wanted to experience working in a community resource center, especially amazing that this works with the community and the college. Just together as a community, I think it's great that the two different communities are working together to benefit both and to really help everyone. I mean, for me, the reason I chose it was because I saw their Instagram and I saw the amazing things they were doing, from talking about Black History Month and equality of women to a toy drive they did in December. Seeing how they're creating such positive environment in the community is wonderful. And through such hard times, especially during COVID, it's nice to see such a great energy. And we're helping people even through this hard time.
So for ups and downs, my experience with being at Hands to Help has been extremely warm and welcoming. Like Christina said, going to the staff meetings, everyone's always like really good at praising people when they should be praised, and like we're really good at giving positive like construction. And I also really enjoy hearing from the tutors and the children, hearing what they like and interacting with them. And I like to learn more about the organization, and attending these staff meetings, we learn about everything, even things we're not a part of, which is great. And if we want to jump in on something, like it's more than welcomed. Like they want us to jump in and want us to do what we want to do with the program. So the down part, the hardest part for me so far has been learning to properly pair the students with the staff. And this can be important because based on who the student is placed with can completely alter their learning experience and whether or not they're going to have like a positive outcome. And we really want them to have a great experience when they come in here, and it's after school, they've had a long day. We want them to have like a good experience while completing their homework.
And that's what we look for to do in the activities in the beginning, which is kind of the biggest part of our role in the tutoring session itself, is to kind of create this activity in the beginning, whether it's an icebreaker or Kahoot. And the most important part about that is just having the students relax after a hard day of school, especially right now. During COVID, they're on a screen all day. And so our biggest goal is just to uplift them and have them have a good start to the tutoring, and to just have a nice, that we can uplift them if we can, if they're struggling. So my ups and downs, I've had an amazing support system with the staff at Hands to Help. That was something that I was kind of nervous for. This was my first professional sort of job. I've only ever worked in fast food restaurants. So this was a total different change for me. And it was great. The staff encourages all of us to speak up and continue to contribute to the conversation. Something for me that was hard was I'm a leader. This was a leadership position. You're not just leading over children, you're leading over other Merrimack students. And sometimes that can be difficult because these are people you've had in your classes before, and now you're a leader to them. And so that transition was slightly hard for me because I'd never been in a leadership position before, but the staff at Hands to Help does amazing training for us to be prepared for the tutoring program, so that on our first day, it was like a month before we were working at Hands to Help, and then we started the tutoring program. They trained us very well for this. And you may be helping children learn their subject material, but they teach you more than you could teach them. I've already, just at 2 months working here, I've had such great experiences, and I just love hearing what the kids have to say. Sometimes they just don't want to do homework and they'll talk to you. And just a little experience that happened for me was one girl, she just didn't want to do homework one day. And so we were coloring and we had like a great time together. And the next session, a few sessions later, a tutor told me that she was drawing with her in the breakout room. She drew a picture of me. And just hearing that I could impact a child's day like that, and so much that they drew a picture of me, really warmed my heart and made me very happy. So it's experiences like that that make it all worth it. And that's all we have.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. All right. Next, we've got Julia.
Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so I currently intern at Justice Resource Institute, which is also called JRI, in the Division of Children, Family, and Friends Services. So like I said, it's JRI and a division of Children, Family, and Friends Services. I currently work at the Lawrence office. I'm remote, so technically I work out of the Lawrence office, but I actually work from home. But there are different offices throughout Massachusetts and even Connecticut. In Massachusetts, they have offices in Lowell, Waltham, Littleton, Needham, Acton, Framingham, Westboro, and then I know that there's a few places in Connecticut as well, and they're trying to expand in Connecticut. Some information about the agency is Justice Resource Institute works in partnership with individuals, families, communities, and the government to pursue the social justice inherent and opening doors to opportunity and independence. The agency basically serves everyone, families, communities, all ages, but especially people that are in underserved communities. So there's so much staff throughout JRI because obviously it's a big agency. So I just kind of narrowed it down to some of the people that I knew from the Lawrence office. As you can see, they all have like certifications and stuff like that. Kate Cronin, she's the program director. Frank Gomez, he is the early psychosis flex team program director. I haven't worked very closely with him, but I have met him. Rosalie, she's a therapeutic mentor. Anna is the outpatient clinician. Ashlyn is the in-home therapy and outpatient clinician. And Juliet is a therapeutic mentor program supervisor. I'm currently trying to get a full-time job with JRI after I graduate next semester. So I've been in contact with basically the last 4 people that were on that list because they are part of the programs that I could go into for just having my bachelor's before I start my master's. But my direct supervisor is Amy Ackroyd. She's the Merrimack Valley area director. Her office is in Lawrence, but she basically supervises everything in the Merrimack Valley. And she's also on the board of the Youth at Risk Manual and event, which I'm going to tell you more about. So my role as intern is I've been sitting in on different group sessions. I've also been attending meetings and events. So I've also been working on the Youth at Risk Manual, and I've been contacting agencies to be in the manual. I have to send them their previous information from the previous years and make sure that it's all correct. If it's not correct, I ask them to correct it and give me more information. There's sometimes I've had to contact places multiple times because they haven't answered or they were taking too long to answer or anything like that. And then after that, I input the information into a doc and keep track of all the things that I have. I attend weekly meetings for Youth at Risk, and I attend weekly meetings with advisor as well. So Youth at Risk is a conference. It's annual, and it's professionals will go to it who work with students or people at risk, the youth. This event features 40 breakout sessions as well as keynote speakers program exhibition, and networking opportunities. So since COVID is happening this summer or like this year, they're trying to put youth at risk online. Everything's online. So previously the manuals have been paper manuals that you will just be handed or you can pick up when you go to the conference in person. But since they're doing it all online this year, we are putting the manual as a website. So that's what I've been working on, is making it into a website and putting all of the information from the manual, the paper copies, onto a website, which I think is really cool because now it will be there forever. And like you can just lose a piece of paper, but you can just go to a website to look for the manual. The mission of YAR is to support communities of professionals serving children, youth, and families, and to provide them with affordable continuing education, collaborative networking, and self-care opportunities. I've seen a lot of information, and I've met a lot of people through the youth at risk meetings that I've been going to, and it's really great to see everyone give each other input. So there's people from all over Massachusetts that are in the youth at risk committee, and everyone's very friendly with each other, but it's also nice to see that everyone is giving people help that they need. And the Youth at Risk Conference is geared towards individuals working with caring youth, community, school, religious, healthcare, human services, recreation, stuff like that. To attend, you would have to be a social worker, a psychologist, a counselor, a family therapist, educator, community, public health workers, program directors, agencies, organizations, stuff like that. Everything that would work with people that are youth at risk. And this year I actually am able to attend the Youth at Risk conference, which is really cool. I'm really excited to see like what everything's really about from someone that's attending it's perspective, rather than someone that's just like putting the manual up. Some other questions were why'd I choose this internship placement? If I'm being honest, when I was researching and looking for places to apply to, I applied to a lot of places, and only 2 places I heard back from, and one of them was JRI. So obviously that was a big reason that I took it, because I didn't hear back from other places, but I'm glad that I did, because when I had my interview with Amy, who was my supervisor, I just knew that we were going to be able to work together nicely. She was very outgoing, very helpful, and I knew that the type of person that she is and the way she was reflecting, even on our first time meeting, was the type of person that I wanted as a boss or a supervisor. What challenges have I faced? Honestly, I haven't faced really any challenges within the organization. The only thing I really faced as a challenge was hearing back from people for the manual. And that was the only time I really got like frustrated or I felt challenged, but I did talk to my supervisor about what I was feeling, and automatically she made me feel totally better about it, which is another reason why I'm glad that I was placed at JRI. And what do you like most about it so far? I really love this. The whole staff is so welcoming. I think Christina said this earlier. She was saying, like, you're not just an intern. Like, when I was thinking about being an intern, I didn't think about the fact that they were going to invite me to all staff meetings and make me feel like I belonged. People were going to be reaching out to me to see how I was and stuff like that. And they're doing that. They're making me feel very at home. It's just a sense of like family and community, especially just in our office. The other day it was someone's 15 years of being with JRI, and I woke up in the morning to like 30 emails in my inbox from everyone at the organization, just responding to her and just saying congratulations and telling her the type of person that she was. And I just like things like that. I think that's awesome, and that's definitely the type of organization that I want to be in. Also, people are very relaxed there. Like, there's no really messing up, I would say. Obviously there are some things that you could mess up on, but when you're having trouble, you can always reach out to someone and just say, hey, look, like I have a bunch of stuff going on at school. I'm just like kind of having a tough day. Can I just get my work done tomorrow? And they'll totally be okay with it. They definitely work with you and make you want to feel comfortable. And that is all I have.
Excellent. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Shed Children's Campus.
Can everyone see this okay?
Mhm.
Okay, so Keely and I are at Shed Children's Campus.
SHED is a program for children grades preschool through 8th grade, where children are taken care of and helped through their online classes by educators. And the Kids Club is in the picture on the bottom right, and that's where we intern, and that's where the children are assisted throughout the day. It's in Andover, Massachusetts, and it's on the campus of Phillips Academy.
So Shed's mission statement is that it follows the Reggio Emilia philosophy, which states that at the heart of this philosophy is the child. Reggio believes that a child's natural curiosity should be what drives the learning, and that an educator's job is to facilitate activities that help the child explore their natural interests and also to observe how the child learns. And part of it is the foundations for learning. So there's nature, mindfulness, community, gardening, and of course, the Reggio Emilia philosophy.
The population SHED serves is children in kindergarten through 8th grade, and the youngest students at SHED are about 3 years old, and the oldest students are the 8th graders, who can range from 13 to 14. Most of the children that go to SHED live in Andover, but there are some children who live in surrounding towns, and like you don't have to be from Andover to go to SHED. And so this year is the first year that SHED decided to do a full day program. And normally it was just an after school program. But since COVID happened and most like elementary schools were online for like half of the week, they decided to open up the full day program to help out families who couldn't stay at home with their children while they did online classes. So starting Monday, SHED will be returning to an after school program and a summer program only, and then it still will have its kindergarten class, and with some exceptions it has like one other classroom for some students who wanted to do full remote, and that's because all Andover schools are going back to in-person classes.
So if you intern at SHED, there are multiple staff that you can encounter. So there's the administration, the executive director, which is Linda, who's my supervisor. She reaches out to parents, handles any emailing, whether it's to parents or the educators. And then she also works with the other administration to further programming at SHED. Then there are the directors. There's Dina. She's involved with hiring and intake. Then there's Karen. She's involved with handling the EEC, which is the Department of Early Education and Care. So any forms that are needed for that, she'll make sure that's in order. And then there's Shayna, and she's involved with the timesheets. And then they all plan for the summer program. Then there are the educators. They practice the Reggio Emilia philosophy in the classroom. So whether that's creating like different activities or crafts for the kids to do. And then of course they help with any schoolwork. Then there's the support staff, which essentially are like substitutes. So if an instructor needs to step out or they're going on a break, they will come in. And if they're not subbing in a class, they will be handling any cleaning that needs to be done. And then there's maintenance. So they'll help with any technology issues, clean classrooms at the end of the day. And of course, if there's anything broken, they'll fix it. So like I said, my direct supervisor is Linda. She's the executive director of SHED. She started working there in 1992. She originally was a school age coordinator, then became a school age director, and is now currently the executive director. She went to Massachusetts Liberal Arts College, where she received a degree in sociology. Just by working with her, you can really tell that she lives by and strongly believes in the foundational pillars of learning, and that she just overall really enjoys being a part of this organization, as well as like working with all the staff, children, and families of SHED.
And my direct supervisor is Karen, and she's a director at SHED. She's been working there since 1997. She has her bachelor's degree in early childhood education with a focus in special education and psychology. Before working at SHED, Karen taught in Andover Public Schools as a preschool teacher for 9 years. And Karen's very active at SHED. She's always walking around to each classroom, making sure everything's running smoothly and helping children who need extra assistance. And she has a lot of strong relationships with each children there.
So my roles and responsibilities, I intern in 2 different classrooms, one on Monday and the other on Friday. Monday is full of second graders, and then Friday has a mix of second and third graders. So my overall responsibility is observing the children's behavior to see like what effects COVID, as well as online learning has on their social emotional development. I also will help with any like schoolwork that the children need help with. And then I also keep an eye on the kids if the instructor needs to step out for a minute, or as well as when we go outside.
I've been working with like fidgety learners and children who have been having a hard time staying online and staying on their schedule. So I've been like pretty much working like one-on-one with the kids who need the extra help and just making sure that they've submitted all the necessary schoolwork and got all of their stuff done before they're sent home for the day.
I chose SHED because I'm interested in being a clinical psychologist specifically for children and adolescents in the future. SHED allows me the experience to work as well as interact with children, as well as give me the opportunity to further discover if this is a population that I would like to work with in the future. And I also think that an interesting area is social emotional development, which a lot of the programs at SHED focuses on. And I believe that it's pretty important to establish, especially at a young age. And then I also wanted an in-person internship, which SHED was offering.
I had an internship lined up before I started interning at SHED, and it actually got canceled like right before the semester had started. So I was like looking at a bunch of places, and SHED really caught my attention because when I went to go visit there, it just felt so comfortable. And I met with the staff, and they were all like super kind. And I just liked how everything was going and how it was in person. And I really enjoy working with children. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity, even though it was so last minute.
So some challenges that I have encountered, there's going to be children with behavioral problems, whether it's just getting them to focus on work or if they have like an attitude. And then finding ways to like occupy yourself. Not all the kids need help with schoolwork, so trying to be active and, find ways to like do something with your time. And then also I know like when I first started my internship that I didn't know how to be like authoritative with the kids and not come across as mean or like intrusive to the teacher, because I don't want to like step in and contradict what she's saying. And then also creating like a project out of the experience. I know working with my supervisor Linda, she's very lenient and she's just go with the flow and you can do pretty much anything that you want. So if you're looking for something that's more I'm trying to I'm missing the word. Like you need like structure and stuff, that's something to definitely consider.
Some challenges I've been facing is like trying to get each child to focus on their own separate work because everyone has different schedules because they all go to like different elementary schools. And just dealing with the many schedule changes due to COVID-19. Like at first I was working with the first graders, but then they ended up going back to school. So then I started working with the third graders, but now they're going back to school on Monday. So I'll be with a new group. So I mean, it's been interesting, but it's just very different working with different age groups. And then just being patient with the children because it's been a tough time and everything can be hard on them too.
So I very much enjoy working with the children. They're all very unique and have been quite entertaining. I also really like all the different instructors, support staff, and other staff members of SHED. They're all super duper nice and welcoming and just have made the overall experience very enjoyable.
I've also really enjoyed working with the children, and I've been able to form a connection with many of them, and I really do look forward to seeing them each week, and I know they really look forward to seeing me too. And it's been interesting, like being able to observe all of their behavior throughout like these crazy times, and just being able to see like what different age groups have more issues with. And also like the staff is really great. Everyone's super welcoming and kind.
And that's it.
All right, excellent. So next up, we have Children's Neuropsychological Services.
Can everyone see that? Yeah, okay. So today, Jackie and I will be talking to you guys about Children's Neuropsychological Services. The pictures are their logo, just so you know.
So the office has 2 locations, Andover and Wenham. So the Andover one is pretty close to Merrimack.
So here they serve patients ages 2 to 24. They provide service to people from the greater Boston area, as well as southern New Hampshire, and actually some parts of Maine, which is a little stretch, but especially due to COVID, finding these types of services is difficult. So they've spread their range of the population.
So their mission statements, so one of them is that they understand all stages of development are important to recognize, embrace, and nurture. And at Children's Neuropsychological Services, we want to help your child succeed. Their approach is based on the philosophy Test for Success. So that ensures that the child's strengths and weaknesses are fully recognized and allows them to create a plan for his or her success. So the basic mission is just to build upon the child's success and make sure that they have the most optimal developmental outcomes.
So for staff, there is a decent amount of staff. It is a privately owned organization. There's William Motz. He's the clinical director, so he oversees and develops the organization and conducts evaluations. There's Wendy, she's a clinical neuropsychologist. And then our supervisor, Mary, she is also a board certified neuropsychologist, and she's the director of developmental assessment program. There's also Matthew Conway. He's the director of teleneuropsychological services, which is very important right now. Due to COVID, it is being used like 95% of the time. And then there are other clinical neuropsychologists on the site, and there's also business and administration, such as like the office manager, the billing specialist, administration, and chief operating officer.
So this is our supervisor, Mary. She's a board certified clinical neuropsychologist, and she attended NYU Langone Medical Center, and that's where she received her formal training in neuropsychology. She also has a certification in pediatric neuropsychology, and that's only held by 100 people. So her focus is really on the littler kids. And she also worked at the Jimmy Fund Clinic at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. And she specializes in neuropsych assessments of children and adolescents that have different learning and emotional and behavioral concerns. And like I said, her particular emphasis is on littler kids, so that would be like children under 10 years old.
So we thought that we would talk about what a pediatric neuropsychologist is, because a lot of people don't know what it is. So it's someone who evaluates children with presenting or suspected neurological conditions. And some of these might be ADHD, autism, a brain injury, anxiety, or specific learning disorders. They conduct clinical interviews with the parents as well as the children. They confirm an appropriate diagnosis, and they provide references for the kids to be able to get treatment and recommendations, and they get a formal report of the child's evaluation in case they have to bring it to school or anything for like IEPs and different things like that.
So here's some of our tasks that we have to do as interns. So the main things that we really do is a lot of observation. So we'll observe some of the clinical interviews that they have online with the parents via Zoom. And then we can also observe the developmental screening clinics, but those are only held once per month. And these are assessments for children that are referred to rule out for autism. Those are also conducted via Zoom. And we also have to attend and watch videos of the CNS trainings and didactics. So these are like little presentations that they have every week that deal with certain topics relating to neuropsychology. And then on our own time, we're reading this book called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by Oliver Sacks. And this is basically just a book of different neuropsychological case studies. And the idea is kind of like for it to enhance our understanding of what neuropsychology is. We also sometimes have to read current journal articles that are coinciding with their journal club. So they have different journals that they discuss every now and then. And then we also have to update referral lists. And a lot of those lists are in pretty rough shape because they haven't been updated for a number of years. So we'll call the different services that are listed and make sure that all the information is accurate. We've started to learn about the different rating scales and how they're scored. We've watched MNS webinars. MNS is the Massachusetts Neuropsychological Society. And again, that kind of deals with different presentations that have to do with different topics in neuropsychology. And then every week we have a meeting with our supervisor, Mary, and the other interns to discuss our progress, ask any questions, go over scheduling, and just kind of touch base with each other. So this internship was a perfect fit for me because it lies exactly within my areas of interest. So I personally really like working with children, and I'm fascinated by developmental psychology and developmental psychopathology. I also really like learning about neuropsychology as well and brain science. So it was cool to find something that aligned with both fields that I'm interested in. And I'm also interested in learning about what goes into the diagnostic process and how neuropsych evaluations are conducted, because a lot of the times I feel like I've learned more about how disorders are treated as opposed to like how they're diagnosed. And also this internship is completely remote, and that was pretty ideal for my circumstances because it's just easier for me to do something from home at this time. And I also value their philosophy of identifying and building upon a child's strengths and setting them on a path to success.
And for me, with all of the many careers in psychology that you can go into, I really want to do something in my life that reflected who I was and like what my goals were in life. And through different research about different careers in psychology, I found neuropsychology and I fell in love with the idea. This internship was my way to like solidify my want to go into the career of neuropsychology because it is a long educational route. So I wanted to make sure that it's something that I really wanted to do. And I'm glad to say that it is, and that this internship has helped me solidify like what I want to do for like grad school and everything, which is amazing. And these children, like they didn't choose to have a neurodevelopmental disorder, they're born with it. So being able to help people and start improving their current life and their future, like it means everything. Like it's totally something that like I want to do and like what I can picture myself doing later on in life. All right, so some challenges. Being remote means that we can't go into the actual building itself. They do have evaluations there because for some children, you just can't do them over Zoom. Like you can't get a correct diagnosis with it because a child in person can be very different over Zoom. So it limits what we can do for the internship itself. And also the age goes up to 24, but our supervisor, Mary, again, as Jackie has said before, sees children 10 and under. You don't necessarily see those like adolescents and adults. It's more focused on the children. If you like that, then it's good for you.
So I also feel that being remote somewhat limits the experience. So when you're working remotely, you don't get that opportunity to interact with the kids, which you probably would if you were in person. And you really can't be a part of that evaluation process. So this might be kind of frustrating to someone that's looking for a more hands-on experience with their internship. But again, if it were in person, it would probably be different. And another potential challenge is just having a lack of certainty in your observation hours, because sometimes it takes a while to receive approval from the parents about whether or not you can observe, because you can only observe the clinical interviews if the parents approve of it. So that way, like, you're not invading on people's privacy. And then updating the referral list can also be a little bit tricky, because a lot of the times when you call the different services, they don't end up answering the first time, and you sort of end up playing phone tag with some of them. And some of the providers also don't have all the information to give. And making these phone calls has kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, since I don't really have much experience with phone communication. So I'm glad that I've been getting that experience. So what I like about this internship, overall, I've been enjoying it very much. The tasks are very straightforward and they're not difficult to complete. It's a pretty laid back environment. Everybody that works there is pretty friendly. And I've been enjoying having the weekly check-ins and having the really meaningful discussions with Mary, and Paige, and the other girl that's interning with us. And I'm glad to be getting more experience with phone communication, like I said, because this is something I've never really done much of in the past. And overall, the experience is just enhancing my psychology knowledge in general, kind of going beyond what I've learned in the classroom setting. Like, for example, I've learned a lot about clinical interviews by like reading about them, but actually seeing how they work in person has sort of added to my knowledge about them. And it's interesting to hear about all the different challenges that kids face and how they compare to others, even how the pandemic is impacting some of these challenges. And it's just been interesting to see what goes into the diagnostic process.
So what I like about CNS is that the team is so knowledgeable. I mean, they all have their doctorate degree, so they should be knowledgeable, but like they're very willing to answer any questions that you have. Like you could contact any of them and they'll be like more than willing to talk to you about their experience, their knowledge and everything. Personally, I have talked to many of them about graduate school and like their experience, and they're very helpful. They actually held like a little meeting talking about of their most recent hires, talk about their experience through graduate school and how they got to where they are now, which was very helpful. And it's a small group of staff, so you can really get to know them and the company as a whole. They're so nice and uplifting, and like the atmosphere isn't intense. It's very relaxed. It's like you're talking to a group of friends just about professional stuff. And the amount of information that I'm learning, you just can't get out of the classroom. Like Jackie said, like you don't learn about like how children get evaluated and get deemed like if they have anxiety or if they have like a neurodevelopmental disorder. So it's definitely, I've learned probably more out of this so far than I have like in any of my classes, which is just amazing. It's like the amount of time that we've been doing this that you just learn so much. And I'm getting so many more like professional skills again with like the phone calls and everything. It's just something that you just don't get out of a regular classroom. And that is all we have.
Excellent. Thank you guys so much. Next, we've got Lazarus House and Sophia.
All right, can everybody see?
Mhm.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia, and I am currently interning at Lazarus House. So Lazarus House Ministries, they have a whole bunch of different locations in specific ministries, but I'm mainly at the family shelter, which is on 48 Holly Street in Lawrence. So their mission statement is, by living the gospel message upon which the ministry is founded, we restore dignity and self-respect to empower guests, families, and individuals struggling with food insecurity, poverty, and homelessness. So the population being served, I got this from their website, known as the Immigrant City, Lawrence and some of the surrounding area has always been a multi-ethnic and multicultural gateway city with a high percentage of foreign-born residents. Unemployment is typically twice the national average. The people served by Lazarus House live a daily struggle to get the most basic needs. We provide physical, emotional, and spiritual shelter from the hardships suffered in their lives, giving them the opportunity to have choices they otherwise would not have. And specifically, the family shelter is focusing on helping single mothers and their children. So there are a large number of roles and staff members at Lazarus House, but I specifically interact with the shelter staff the most. And their duties are typically just to answer phone calls if anyone calls the shelter. If the guests plan on leaving for the day, they need to sign them out and make sure that we keep note of where they are, as well as opening the door for them. They're also in charge of chores such as cleaning and reorganizing, preparing and distributing meals, as well as logging in any donations that they receive during the day, and overall just helping the guests with anything that they need. So my supervisor is Carmen Vega, and her title is Lazarus House Shelter Program Director. Basically, she just runs the shelter. She calls herself like the case manager of everybody. So she works with the guests and she's always checking in with them on what they need and what they need help with. Like if they need clothes or they need help with applications or paperwork, anything like that, she's there to help them. She does, when I see her, she does a lot of paperwork and she's on a lot of phone calls and Zoom calls during the day. And she also has a background in casework and mental health services. I believe she's a licensed mental health counselor. So it's really cool to be able to talk with her about her experiences because I want to go into counseling and therapy as well. So the role of an intern, it's kind of different with everybody because I know there are a couple other interns at the shelter. I just haven't really met them just because of our schedules, but we're basically expected to do the same thing as the shelter staff. So help make and distribute meals during the day, help clean the shelter and organize things, aid in laundry, and basically just help the shelter staff with anything that they need. And some of my experiences I added on there, but I'll also just elaborate. So basically every year Massachusetts wants a census of the homeless population. So I was able to interview some of the guests and ask them those questions and kind of connect with them as well. And I was also able to create my own needs assessment for the shelter for them to use with the current guests and also future guests. Right now, I'm currently working on a pen pal program amongst the children in the shelter for them to kind of have a way to build more of a community since it's kind of lacking right now due to COVID and different restrictions. Other things that I've done, just like miscellaneous things, if I need to update any lists or I know one of the kids, she's going back to school and she needed a backpack and some school supplies. So I was able to put that all together for her. And one day I actually got to play with some of the kids. And what was really sweet, like I know Christina mentioned earlier with her experiences with her kids, I really only got to hang out with them for like an hour and we did arts and crafts. And then when I saw them the next week, I saw them for like 2 minutes and they were like, "Hi, Sophia." Like they were just so excited to see me. So it was nice that my 1 hour interaction with them really had an impact. And why I chose Lazarus House. So kind of echoing what Julia mentioned earlier, I had reached out to so many different places and they either didn't get back to me, only looking for master's interns, not undergrad. I work with dementia patients at night, so they weren't able to work with me based on schedules and just other stuff. And Lazarus House was really the only place that reached out to me, which was really fun. And it's an organization that I've been supporting since I was a kid. So I am actually a parishioner at St. Augustine's in Andover. and I went to St. Augustine's school. So I have known about Lazarus House since I was in kindergarten. Just with money donations and food drives. I actually used to go on mission trips with the church, and I actually did service at the shelter now that I'm at now, which is just crazy how it's like a full circle. And then they also do the Hike for Hope. I know like way back in the day, they actually did the Hike for Hope at Merrimack, which is interesting. And then I actually went to Central Catholic High School, and it's right across the street from the shelter. So I would drive past the shelter every day to get to school. And then that's just a picture of my friend and I when we volunteered at the Hike for Hope our senior year. So some of the challenges that I faced, we're all living the pandemic. So obviously a lot of things are different and changed. So I'm really unable to see the guests during the day, because if they don't leave to go to work or to bring their kids to daycare or anything, they have to stay in their rooms. They can't really move around or anything. And it's also very, very slow. When I talk to people, they're like, it used to be like so busy, people everywhere. Like it was so much fun. So it runs very slow. And sometimes there are points when I'm there where I don't really know what to do. And also something that I've kind of struggled with is being proactive with what I want to learn. So I would say I am like an introverted extrovert. That's what I like to call myself. And it sometimes takes time for me to get comfortable in new situations, especially like this was my first real internship. So I wasn't really sure what I was getting myself into and what I should expect to learn. So if you definitely know like things that you want to learn about like case management or mental health services with the homeless community, this would definitely be a good internship for you. And what I've enjoyed the most is meeting new people. So I transferred to Merrimack last semester, and I'm also a junior, so kind of a little bit late in the game. And I was able to meet someone who's in the exact same position as me. So being able to like meet someone and relate to them and also form a new friendship has just been like a great blessing. And meeting other people in the field, like who are social workers, nurses, clinicians, just meeting people who are in the field and having nice conversations and just connecting with them on that. And also getting a glimpse into the reality of casework. So at my old school, I took an intro to social work class. So kind of just seeing what I've learned right in front of me has just been very interesting. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Sophia. All right. And last but not least, we have Windrush Farm.
Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Hi, we're Windrush Farm. I'm presenting with Amanda and Brissa today. We're all interns at Windrush. Windrush Farms is a therapeutic farm in North Andover, and it does therapy for
So this is their mission statement. Windrush promotes confidence, independence, and well-being in children and adults with physical, cognitive, and emotional challenges through therapeutic riding and horse-related programs. So this is Janet Nittman, our CEO. She's been the CEO at Windrush for about 4 years, and she studied at the University of Leeds, which is a public university in England. She has a degree in biology and a master's in international marketing. She came to Windrush in 2016, and before that, she worked at the Dover Saddlery for 13 years. And she directs and coordinates all the roles and responsibilities at the farm, and she's also our supervisor. And she also puts together events such as Special Olympics at the farms. And most importantly, she loves horses. And at Windrush, they also serve multiple populations, but their main population is children with like neurodevelopmental disorders and impairments, also physical disabilities, things like autism and ADHD. Those are sort of the neurodevelopmental disorders that they deal with. And the staff is also in charge of managing the horses and collecting the kids for activities. Other people at the farm include counseling educators, finance directors, occupational therapists, instructors, and volunteer coordinators.
Some of the staff at Windrush that you might encounter are specifically on, it's mostly a women-owned staff. However, who you might be coming in contact with is definitely Betsy and Janet, who are the CEOs. Betsy is the administrative, but there are multiple staff at Windrush that you might come in contact with depending on your internship and your interests.
Amanda?
She's having some connection issues.
Oh, okay. I'll just continue until she's able to get on. But so the populations of the clients at Windrush, again, they serve all populations, but mostly kids and adults with special needs and other physical and cognitive and emotional challenges. This list on the right is just like sort of a condensed form of the main people that they serve at Windrush, but their list is like very exhaustive. There's about like 200 disorders that they deal with, but this is just sort of like a summary.
So why we chose Windrush. So special education, children play like a special part in my background. So specifically special ed plays an important role and Windrush serves that population. So that is why I chose Windrush to get more of a background on it.
I apologize for the past slides. My internet connection is terrible and it kept kicking me out of the call. But for me, I chose Windrush because I've always had a love for animals and psychology. And in the future, I hope to work with service animals in some way while also pursuing a career in licensed counseling. So I felt that Windrush Farm was an excellent organization to start with and a great way to learn more about both areas of my interests. It's kind of a niche, so this was a really awesome opportunity that would fit my areas of interest perfectly.
For me, research was the primary aspect that I was looking for and actively interested in. Oops. When looking for an internship, so hearing that I could have an opportunity to do research while also helping the population that I wanted to specialize in, which is ADHD and autism, was a win-win for me. And then these are just some of my responsibilities. So my experience is mainly to gather information, so psychoeducation and specifically like helping Windrush with accommodations with their ADHD and autism population. I also do reviews within like their diagnostic criteria, so like that exhaustive list that they have. I also do write-ups on like sensory overload and just how to overall like make accommodations for these populations at Windrush for the activities and things that they plan.
So my responsibilities is we create like a semester project with Janet, who's our supervisor, but she's also the CEO. And Janet focuses on the strengths of the intern and incorporate it into the internship itself. So my project is researching where the support is for visually impaired children and where the funds are to support them. So that is my semester-long project that I'm going in depth with and creating documents with Janet. And then at the end of the internship, if we have searched through enough research, we will be able to do a press release, which is sort of cool.
So my role as a remote intern, there's two categories to it, one being social media. So that includes researching social media statistics to find most effective apps, posting times, and hashtags to use. We just started looking into HishHash, which is an app that will generate certain hashtags to reach a larger target audience. We also have an emphasis on the app TikTok and how to use the platform to benefit the organization. It's something that Janet hasn't really looked into yet, so she wanted a younger population's help on how to start using that and how to make it useful for Windrush. Also, the other aspect is interviewing. So I created a template of survey questions for future client surveys. Questions were such as experience on the farm, or if there's any competitors that have other options for them, or how they heard about Windrush. And we plan to organize Zoom and or phone interviews with current and past clients and using the survey. And I added some additional tasks as well, such as creating spreadsheets for various contact information per CEO Janet's request. Maggie and I have been working on like physical therapists, pediatricians, local riding stables so that they can get more horses onto the farm.
We're also brainstorming ideas for Windrush Farms' upcoming Fall Special Olympics. So this week, Maggie's in my group to talk about a marketing campaign from now to September to get a larger audience of people to attend the event. We're also talking about ways that we can better the event in terms of food, music, entertainment, stuff like that. We also do weekly Zoom meetings to touch base on assignments and hear from other interns. So we'll just kind of go over everything that we've been working on and what we can add and what we should share with other interns to help better future assignments. And then lastly, we review relevant articles about psychology, disabilities, and the benefits of therapeutic horseback riding. This is just kind of some minor research. We don't have to do any big projects on it or papers. We just use this information to better our future assignments and to help Windrush and to give Janet like an organized list of research and statistics and all of that good stuff.
What I love about Windrush is the fascination and the love that each of the staff has towards one another and the horses and there's other animals on the farm too. So if you get to visit it, highly recommend. So, yeah.
For me, I really love the supervisor, Janet, as we've spoken about. She's curated specific tasks and assignments based on each intern's interests and career goals. So it's not like you're thrown into the internship given this list of things you have to do. If you're interested in something, or if there's an area you want to work on, or if something piques your interest, or if there's a research project you want to do, she would totally be okay with you doing that. That's why I'm working with social media and interviewing, because that was kind of the areas of interest that I expressed to her. Also, the work is really fulfilling, but not overwhelming at all. She emphasizes that schoolwork comes first, so we never have to put our all into that above our schoolwork. If we need an extension on something, she's very lenient with that. And I also support Windrush Farms' mission and feel passionately about the work they do. So I feel grateful to be a part of something that's so unique and beneficial to this population.
For me, it's just really a unique experience to be able to collect research and then use that to implement real change among this population. Like, I not only like am able to like research things and collect it, but I'm able to see it implemented into a real tangible thing in real activities. So it's nice to be able to see that I'm actually making a considerable difference. And that's it.
Excellent. Great, thank you guys so much. So now we can open it up to questions. So if there's people that have questions, if you would put those questions in the chat, that would be great. And don't worry, I have questions for you guys. Oh, great. Let's see. Oh, do you have to be a horse lover or a horse rider to intern at Windrush?
No, you do not. I have never worked with horses in my whole life, but I do love it. It's less about the horses and more about what the horses can offer the population at Windrush. So you do not need to be a horse fanatic, but it does help because Janet does love horses.
And it being remote this semester makes it very different too, because usually it would be a very hands-on experience where you're working on the farm with everyone, working with the horses and with the clients. But being remote, there's a lot of other ways to get involved and other ways to benefit the organization without even having to work directly with the animals. So you don't really need to have experience with horses or animals of any sort, but it's important to have an interest in it at least.
So we do have a question about getting to work with the horses and kids during your internship. Because of COVID, you all haven't really been able to do that, right?
Correct. Yeah. So my internship is remote, as is Amanda and Maggie's, I'm pretty sure. So I've only visited the farm about I think only one time, and I wasn't able to like interact with the children or horses because of COVID. But usually, if it was COVID free, I would be able to like physically implement like my research and help the children hands on. But right now, no, we don't.
We had an internship. We had an intern there 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago, and they did do work alongside the horses and the children that were there. But I imagine there's going to be an integration of both types of internships because it's been so successful with all of you doing the research side. So we have a question for Julia. Is the manual a compilation of different services attending the Summer Youth at Risk Conference?
So everyone that's in the Youth at Risk manual is invited to go to the conference. Not everyone that's in the manual will end up going, but they are all invited.
Excellent. And as someone who's attended that conference a few times, I just have to say it's a really amazing experience for Julia as a student to get to attend and go for free and be able to hear these speakers and get that experience. So that was really, really cool. All right, so another question is, did you go to the O'Brien Center to work on your resume or application material? How did you all do that?
So I know for me, I mainly reached out to you on that aspect, but the O'Brien Center is definitely a good resource to use.
That's actually a question I was going to pose to you all is how did you prepare? I know how you prepared, but how did you guys, can you share about how you prepared to go out and apply for internships and for the internship experience in general?
I took the professional development class beforehand, and I think that that helped a lot because we learned about like how to format the resume and stuff like that. So personally, I think that that helped me with like the application process and like learning how to write a cover letter and make the resume.
For me, I knew that I wanted to do an internship for the fall, so I did research very, very early ahead, and I reached out to Katie over the summer, actually, very early on, and talked to her about different opportunities that other students have taken that I know took in undergrad interns, because it is hard to search and find your own place. It's possible you can get an internship anywhere, as long as they take you, but just being ahead on the game and finding out places that do have opportunities for you. I jumped on it right away and was able to get an internship pretty much right away because of that.
Yeah, excellent. Anybody else before I move on to our next question?
I attended the psychology internship fair last semester, and that was really helpful to hear from the different organizations. So that's how I learned about SHED. And then I immediately reached out to Linda, and she was more than happy to provide an internship. And we set up like a meeting on Zoom at the beginning of December, and we just talked for like a good hour or so, and it worked out from there.
Great. Maggie, did you want to add?
Yeah, if you're not sure where to start with your resume, contact the O'Brien Center, and they will usually you have access to templates to help you with your resume building skills, and you can actually email a certain email that your career advisor would give you, and then it would edit your resume for you if you needed help with that.
Excellent. And there's also some examples on the internship website too. And that you can find through my virtual office that is linked even on the Merrimack website as well. So there is a question, was this the first time many of you had a professional interview experience? That's a great question. Who wants to take that one?
So this was probably the third time that I had a professional interview. The first time I had an interview, it was in person, and that was scary. But I ended up getting the internship, then I got canceled because of COVID. So then all of my like interview experiences were online. But the one specifically with Windrush was over the phone, so that wasn't really too crazy. But I was on the phone for like 2 hours, so it's really not as nerve-wracking like once you get into it, especially like once you like find out a little bit more about the person that's interviewing you. But definitely like I came prepared with like talking points and like researched like the place that I wanted to intern at before they called me. But yeah, it sounds way nerve-wracking, way more nerve-wracking than it is. But
And you brought up such a great point that I love telling every student is prepare yourself for the interview, research the place, come up with questions. When they ask you if you have questions, you'll be prepared because you never want to tell someone you don't have any questions. So if you're prepared and you look into it, they'll really see your investment. And it'll give you some really important information, and it'll probably ease your nerves a little bit too. Right, anybody else?
Quickly about that. There was another like internship thing where all of the supervisors from different places came and actually talked to us about different opportunities in their places. And if you talked about like you were able to ask questions and put into like breakout rooms with different organizations. And my supervisor, Mary, she actually recognized me from that because I spoke up and asked a question that that stood out to her. So it definitely, like Katie said, it makes a difference, and it sort of it points you as like different if you ask the right questions.
Absolutely. And that's another great point, is attending events like that, which we were able to have it even though it was virtual, but it worked out really nicely because students were able to go into breakout rooms. And that happened quite a few times, is the people said, oh, you know, so-and-so really asked some great questions, or they emailed me afterwards to give me feedback on the great conversations they had in these breakout rooms. So you can really make an impression early on, which is great. So I have a question here, and it's asking, how did you all hear about these internship opportunities?
I know that I looked for internships on my own at first because I thought that that would give me more options, but actually Katie sent along this internship opportunity. She would send emails prior to the semester so we could look into it and apply to different ones and see what would fit us best. Windrush was one of the ones that she sent, and that seemed like a perfect match for me. I had previously applied to a different internship and got about halfway through that process, but when I heard about Windrush, just a better opportunity that fit my interest way better. So I went with that instead.
Great, thank you. Who else?
I will say from my experience, I had like no idea who to reach out to. And Katie actually has like this huge list of like all these places that other kids have interns. So I reached out to them, and then Katie will email multiple times. Like she emailed a bunch, especially during winter break, of different places that were looking for interns. So I would say that's how I learned about Lazarus House even.
Great. Anybody else want to chime in there?
I actually learned about my internship from applying for another one. So I applied to, I can't even remember what it was now, but they weren't taking internships because of COVID. But the guy, he had said, like, I do know that JRI hires interns, so reach out to Amy and she'll probably be happy to talk to you. So that's, I didn't even think about, or I didn't really know anything about JRI until I had talked to the person from the other internship site.
That's great. And I think that's a really nice point too, is what I've experienced is people are really willing to help students and they want to connect you. So I think reaching out and then asking even for that information is really great, and being proactive is so important. So we have a question. Did the other sites train interns like Hands to Help did? So Hands to Help had some training opportunities. Was there training of any sort from the other sites that you're all at?
I know for Windrush, at least, I didn't really get any training besides like the first meeting that we had, which is basically like her, Janet explaining the internship responsibilities. But other than that, you pretty much just do your work how you want to. So it's pretty subjective in that sense.
I think it depends on like what internship site you're at. Like how for SHED, you're interactive with little kids. So like that would be something that maybe you would be trained more in. At my site, at Children's Neuropsychological Services, there isn't really much to be trained for. I mean, you can ask questions if you're curious about certain things, but there isn't necessarily anything that you need to be trained for.
And I think things will look different, you know, post-COVID, when people are doing some things more in person. There's probably some different opportunities and different things to be trained on as well. So I want to ask our internship students if they, before we end, can sort of give kind of their best advice to students that are thinking about maybe doing an internship at some point during their time here at Merrimack.
don't be afraid to ask for help. So many, like, even like professors, like you wouldn't think, like they're so willing to help you. Katie is amazing. Like she'll respond to you like right away. She's just on her game all the time. And just they're so willing to help, and it makes the process so much easier. And just knowing what the process is and what you have to do and the different steps, and it just ask for help.
I would say that the more experience, the better. Some internships might not sound like something you want to do, or it might not be like the career that you want to go in exactly, but it's better to try it out if some aspect of it interests you, because along the way you might find that you don't want to do something like that. So you can explore other areas and other options.
Yeah, no experience is bad experience in terms of internships. So just do like as much as you can. Even if you don't love it, it's giving you that sort of insight in a field, even if it's not like exactly where you want to head towards. It'll still be helpful in the long run. So I applied everywhere and just waited to hear back, and researched where I really wanted like a field.
And there is another question too, one last question. Do you feel better prepared for the working world or graduate school due to your internship?
I think that I definitely feel a little bit better prepared, just because it's allowing me to gain more professional skills. Like for me personally, it was with phone communication, because like I said in the presentation, it's not something I've had in the past. So I'm glad that that's allowing me to develop that skill. So yeah, I think I do feel more prepared in terms of like communication skills and other just general like professional appearance.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you all so much for presenting today to our students. Thank you to our guests for coming to hear about their wonderful experiences. I know that it's appreciated because some of the students are probably thinking, I don't know if this is something I want to do. So I think hearing from students is so important. Anybody that's even thinking about it or has questions, please reach out to me. I'm going to put you might have my email, but I'm going to put it in the chat anyway, just in case. Please reach out, let me know what you need, and I'm excited to work with you in the future. All right. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.